Why did you feel that a semi-fictional take for this film was the best vehicle to inspire the public?
Well, we actually set off to make a pure documentary, and that's what we did for the first 3 years, following 6 normal humans all around the world on different sides of the climate change problem. But when we edited that version and we started showing it to people, everybody who knew about climate change thought it was fantastic, and they thought, oh, it's so subtle, all the links. And everybody who didn't know about climate change was like, what's this unrelated people got? What's this one got to do with that one? And they just thought it was useless. So given that we were trying to make a mainstream film that didn't just appeal to people into climate change, we had a panic for several months, but then we decided, okay, we need to add an extra element. And eventually we came up with this idea of setting it in the future, which of course is one of the key environmental themes, that the action we take now or the action we don't take now has grave consequences for the people that follow.
Great. Do you think that this could do for the climate what a film like The China Syndrome and The 3 Mile Island nuclear disaster did for the issue of nuclear energy in the late 1970s?
Well, I mean, it's really not for me to say, but, all I can say is that I'm doing everything I can personally, because I'm a filmmaker, I made a film, to try and avert this crisis before it becomes the greatest humanitarian crisis of all time. Whether or not we will succeed or not, I couldn't possibly tell you, but what I do know is that all the generations who came before us, they didn't know about this problem. All the generations who come after us, it'll be too late for them to do anything. So it does come down to our generation. We are the most powerful people who've ever lived because we hold the future in our hands. And so, I'm doing everything I can.
Great. It's all you can do.
Exactly.
But this film seems to take a very gloom and doom approach. And isn't the public a little tired of environmental doomsayers? I mean, what happens if people leave the film depressed and just go home and cry into their pillows instead of, rousing to action?
Well, there's a difference between alarming and alarmist. And the thing about climate change is that we are right at the end of the time when we can still do something about it. So we have to leap into action. And if you don't understand that yet, and you go into see our film and then you get it, that is a frightening thing. I know, we don't doubt this. There's no way of getting that information across in a way that's not frightening because we're talking about the end of life on Earth. So yes, it is frightening. But I think what is clever about our film, if I may say so, is that it's set in the future where we fail to act now, and everybody watching it can understand, okay, that's what's going to happen if we don't act now. It's not saying it's a disaster now, it's saying we have to act now to stop a disaster coming. So, there is hope, there's intrinsic hope in that. But, the situation actually is, there is only a small amount of hope left because we have left it so late, and we have so much work now to do if we're going to turn things around, and that's the reality.
Yeah, that is true. So is there a specific call to action at the end of The Age of Stupid, or how will you take advantage of the momentum for change that you hope the film creates?
Well, if there was one simple thing that I could tell you, if everybody goes out and does X, then we're going to solve climate change, then we would have already solved it, It's not one of those problems. It's a much more intrinsic one, Climate change is caused by the gross effect of everything that everybody's doing and that all of our societies put together. And so that's what we've got to look at, the whole of our society, of Western civilization. So clearly there's not a one simple answer. But, in terms of actually what people need to be focusing on this year is in Copenhagen in December this year, the world's governments are going to come together at the UN Climate Summit and create a new international treaty which is supposed to tackle this problem. But the treaty that the draft version that's currently on the table, the very best one would give us only a 50-50 chance of averting not entering runaway climate change. 50-50 chance. That's what our political leaders are giving us at best, And so
not great odds.
It's not great odds. Imagine if it was a plane. Imagine if they were standing at the door of a plane going, come on, citizens, get on the plane, 50-50 chance of landing safely. None of us would get on it, and yet we're all going around our ordinary lives as though, we're not on that plane with 50-50 odds. So, we've got, I think it's 3 months left now till Copenhagen, and, there is a very, very important role for the public to play of putting pressure on the politicians. In this country, Obama, from what he's saying, he does seem to understand the kind of deal we need, how strong it needs to be from the science point of view. But there's no way he can make that deal because it wouldn't get through the Senate. So that's where the public comes in, putting pressure on the senators so that Obama can go and have the political space to make the right deal.
Yeah, so then part of that most specific call to action, you would say, would be to put pressure on the politicians who are going to be representing your country at the Copenhagen climate talks.
I would say that's exactly it, yeah. But obviously everybody's on this planet, everybody relies on the climate remaining habitable, so everybody has a very big stake in why they would want to get involved. But everybody has different skills, different life experience. You know, some people have got kids, some people are older, some people are great on internet, you know, whatever. So everybody's got different skills and everybody can contribute in a different way to this problem. The only thing not to do is to not get involved, you know, to just sit there and then, you know, just run over the edge of the cliff, if you can sit there and run over at the same time.
Well, I found the film's decentralized, really grassroots approach to the upcoming global premiere really interesting. Who was behind that that marketing outreach?
Well, I'm glad you think that there's, you know, some great team or some, you know, huge Hollywood studio behind this, but I can assure you that there's just a few of us in a very untidy office in London. We've put together this plan, but I made another film before, McLibel, which was about McDonald's, and I made that one also independently, and that ended up getting 25 million viewers all around the world, which is a huge figure for a documentary. And so with this one, that was just 2 of us who did that, and this time we've got more than 1,000 people are working on the premiere event on Monday. So we're aiming together, we're aiming to reach 250 million viewers before Copenhagen. That's our aim, because if you could motivate 250 million people to pressurise their politicians, that could really make a difference. That could really change the outcome at Copenhagen.
Absolutely. So so how and when did that outreach start to gather those 1,000 volunteers working on this?
Well, we funded the film independently so that we would control the distribution, so that we could maximise the number of viewers, and we invented this system that we call crowdfunding, which essentially 228 individuals and groups, one of them was a hockey team, invested between £500 and £35,000 in the film, and they all own a tiny share of the film, as do the crew, who had to work at essentially minimum wage, some of them for 5 years. And then we got to as far as the UK premiere in March. And even though, again, we're unfunded, we're just doing this on our own, but we were the box office #1 and we broke the Guinness World Record for the biggest ever premiere. And this really got our little minds thinking. And so then we went even bigger and we thought, what about a global premiere? And so that's what we're doing this Monday, 21st of September. We're having a solar-powered cinema tent in New York, a green carpet. Celebrities like Gillian Anderson and Heather Graham are arriving on low-carbon transport, of course, so boats, bicycles, rickshaws, before walking the green carpet. Moby is going to be playing live by a pedal-powered PA, and Tom York from Radiohead is also going to be singing live. Kofi Annan is going to be speaking, so it's going to be quite an event. But everybody is invited to come to this event by going to their local movie theatre, because it's going to be playing in 440 cinemas across America just for this one night. So you'll see the film, but you'll also see all of that stuff happening in America. And we're also going live to 62 countries all across the world, from tiny little Pacific islands to countries in Africa, all of Europe, of course, a lot in South America. So it sounds ridiculous, but our little climate change film is aiming to beat Star Wars' record as the biggest live film event. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I mean, it's quite frightening because we have no advertising whatsoever. We don't have any budget for advertising. So everything is being built on word of mouth. But if you go on our website or any of the blogs or the Facebook or anything, it's going insane out there. People are very much getting behind the film, and everybody's telling everybody else about this event on Monday night. Yeah.
So if people happen, can't make one of their local movie premieres in their neighborhood, are they going to have the chance to see this again somewhere else?
Well, what I would really say is, what are you doing on Monday night? Perhaps you could rearrange what you're doing, because it is the only chance to watch the live event and Tom York and Kofi Annan and all that. It's only going to be on the one night. But if you really can't, then it will be on TV and on DVD later, but quite a lot later. In this country, I think not till after Copenhagen. So come on Monday.
Okay.
And bring 10 friends.
And bring friends. Well, I'm interested in the some of those real life stories of the people that you're featuring in the film here. How did you find them, and was there one that really stands out to you as emblematic of the dangers of the climate chaos?
Well, I think one of the problems that environmental campaigns have had in the past is they've been emphasising like polar bears are in trouble and stuff like that. When actually the thing about climate change is that human beings are in trouble. 300,000 people are already dying every year. And that number's just going to be going up and up and up as the climate deteriorates. And that's what we wanted to emphasise. We wanted to emphasise, you know, that we are the most intelligent species. We are the most unique, you know, and greatest species ever to evolve, greatest in some ways, ever to evolve on this planet. And we're about to wipe ourselves out, knowingly wipe ourselves out, you know. And so that's really what we wanted to focus on, just the, you know, the sheer beauty of humanity and the fact that we are worth saving. So when we went out looking for people to represent that, which is quite a hard thing to represent, clearly, you know, we were just really looking for people who inspired us and who we really felt other people would be drawn to, but equally from all walks of life. So we've got an Indian guy who's setting up an airline. We've got 2 little Iraqi kids. We've got an old French mountain guide, and we've got a man in New Orleans who works for Shell. So, you know, and it's funny because that's what we set out to do, and even for myself, when I met these people and when I worked with them over several years, they did do exactly what I wanted, which was, you know, to re-inspire my belief, not just in documentary, but, you know, in humanity, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.